भगवते देवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna everyone. Chapter 6, Text 1. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashritah Karmafalam Karyam Karma Karoti Yaha Sasannyasi Cha Yogi Nana Nirakriha Chakriyaha.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work, who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty.
Text 2. Yan Sannyasam iti prahur yogam tam vitti pandava nasnaha sanyastak sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana.
What is called renunciation you should know to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the Supreme, O son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification.
Text 3. Arurukshormuner yogam karma karanamuchyate yogarudasya taseva shamaha karanamuchyate.
For one who is a neophyte in the eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means, and for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means.
Text 4. Yada hinendriyartheshu na karmasvanushujyate sarvasankalpa sannyasi yogarudastadochyate.
A person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities.
Text 5. Uttaredatmanatmanam natmanam pasataye atmaiva tyatmano bandhu atmaiva atmaiva ripuratmanaha.
One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well.
Text 6. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitaha anatmanastu shatrutve varte tatmaiva shatruvat.
For him who has conquered the mind is best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy.
Text 7. Jitatmanah prashantasya paramatma samahitah shitoshna sukha dukkheshu tatha manapamanayoho.
For one who has conquered the mind, the supersoul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same.
Text 8. Jnana-viज्ञानतृप्तात्मा कूटस्थो विजितेन्द्रियः युक्त इत्युच्यते योगी समलोष्टाश्मकाञ्चनः.
A person is said to be established in self realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same.
Text 9. Surunmitraryudasina madhyasthadveshbandhushu sadhushvapi cha papeshu samabuddhirvisheshate.
A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well wishers, affectionate benefactors, and neutral mediators, the envious. friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind.
Text 10. Yogi yunchita satatamatman. Apologies. Yogi yunchita satatamatmanam rahasi stitaha ekaki yata chittatma nirashira parigraha.
A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness.
Text 11 to 12. शुचो देशे प्रतिष्ठाप्य स्थिरमासनमात्मनः नात्युच्छ्रितं नाति नीचं चैलाजीनकुशोत्तरम् तत्रैकाग्रं मनः कृत्वा यतचित्तेन्द्रियक्रियः उपविश्यासने युञ्जात् योगमात्मविशुद्धये.
To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusa grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one point.
Text 13 to 14. समं कायशिरोग्रीवं धारयन्नचलं स्थिरः सम्प्रेक्ष्य नासिकाग्रं स्वं दिशश्वानवलोकयन् प्रशान्तात्मा विगतभिः ब्रह्मचारी वृत्ते स्थितः मनः संयम्य मच्चित्तो युक्त आसीत् मत्परः.
One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life.
Text 15. युञ्जनैवं सदात्मानं योगी नियतमानसः शान्तिं निर्वाणपरमां मत्संस्थामधिगच्छति.
This practicing constant control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist, his mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God or the abode of Krishna by cessation of material existence.
Text 16. Na- नात्यश्रतस्तु नात्यश्रतस्तु योगोऽस्ति न चैकान्तमनश्रतः न चाति स्वप्नशीलस्य जाग्रतो नैव चार्जुन.
There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, O Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too less, sleeps too much, no, or does not sleep enough.
Text 17. युक्ताहारविहारस्य युक्तचेष्टस्य कर्मसु युक्तस्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः.
He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system.
Text 18. यदा विनीयतं चित्तम् आत्मन्येवावतिष्ठते निःस्पृहः सर्वकामेभ्यो युक्त इत्युच्यते तदा.
When the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to be well established in yoga.
Text 19. यथा दीपो निवातस्थो निञ्जते सोपमा स्मृता योगिनो यतचित्तस्य युञ्जतो योगमात्मनः.
As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self.
Text 20 to 23. Yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyannatmani tushyati sukhamatyantikam yattad buddhigrahya matindriyam veti yatra na chaivayam sitaschalati tattvataha yam labdva chaparam lapam manyate nadhikam tataha यस्मिन् सितो न दुःखेन गुरुणापि विचाल्यते तं विद्यात् दुःखसंयोग वियोगं योगसन्निधम्.
In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact.
Hare Krishna. I understand that it's up to text 23?
24, Mataji.
24. Apology. Text 24. सनिश्चयेन सनिश्चयेन योगो निर्विण्णचेतसा सङ्कल्पप्रभवान् कामांस् त्यक्त्वा सर्वान् शेषतः मनसैवेन्द्रियग्रामं विनियम्य समन्ततः.
One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so
Hare
much for the
Krishna. Thank you.
opportunity and apologies if I have made any mistakes.
Thank you, Shubhada Mataji and Jyoti Mataji. That was a very nicely recited verses. So today we will be discussing text 13 and 14 and also recap quickly text 11 and 12. So text 13 and 14. Samam kaya shiro grivam dharayan achalam stira samprekshaya nashikagram swam dishaschanavalokayan prashantatma vigatabhir brahmachari vrate stita mana samya makchito samya samyamya makchito yukta ashita matparaha. Translation: one should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. So, let's look at the purport by Srila Prabhupada. Purport. The goal of life is to know Krishna, who is situated within the heart of every living being as Paramatma, the four-handed Vishnu form. The yoga process is practiced in order to discover and see the localized form of Vishnu and not for any other purpose. The localized Vishnu Murti is the plenary representation of Krishna dwelling within one's heart. One who has no program to realize this Vishnu Murti is uselessly engaged in mock yoga practice and certainly wasting his time. Krishna is the ultimate goal of life, and the Vishnu Murti situated in one's heart is the object of yoga practice. To realize this Vishnu Murti within the heart, one has to observe complete abstinence from sex life. Therefore, one has to leave home and live alone in a secluded place, remaining seated as mentioned above. One cannot enjoy sex life daily at home or elsewhere and attend a so-called yoga class and thus become a yogi. One has to practice controlling the mind and avoiding all kinds of sense gratification, of which sex life is the chief. In the Rules of Celibacy written by great sage Yagnavalkya, it is said, Karmana manasa vacha sarva ashtasu sarvada sarvatra maithuna tyago brahmacharyam prakakshate. The vow of brahmacharya is meant to help one completely abstain from sex indulgence in work, words, and mind at all times, under all circumstances, and in all places. No one can perform correct yoga practice through sex indulgence. Brahmacharya is taught therefore from childhood when one has no knowledge of sex life. Children at the age of 5 are sent to Gurukula or place of spiritual master, and the master trains the young boys in the strict discipline of becoming brahmacharis. Without such practice, no one can make advancement in any yoga, whether it be dhyana, jnana, or bhakti. One who, however, follows the rules and regulations of married life, having a sexual relationship only with his wife, and that also under regulation, is also called a brahmachari. Such a restrained householder brahmachari may be accepted in bhakti school, but the jnana and dhyana schools do not even admit householder brahmacharis. They require complete abstinence without compromise. In the Bhakti school, a householder brahmachari is allowed to control the sex life because the cult of Bhakti Yoga is so powerful that one automatically loses sexual attraction being engaged in the superior service of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Vishaya vinivartante nirashraya dehina rasa varjam raso api asya param drishtava nivartate. Whereas others are forced to restrain themselves from sense gratification, a devotee of the Lord automatically refrains because of superior taste. Other than the devotee, no one has any information of that superior taste. Vigata bhi, one cannot be fearless unless one is fully in Krishna consciousness. A conditioned soul is fearful due to his perverted memory, his forgetfulness of his eternal relationship with Krishna. The Bhagavatam 11.2.37 says, Bhayam dvitya bhiniveshata sayat ishat apetasya viparyo smriti. Krishna consciousness is the only basis for fearlessness. I'll repeat this line. Krishna consciousness is the only basis for fearlessness. I repeat it one more time. Krishna consciousness is the only basis for fearlessness. Therefore, perfect practice is possible for a person who is in Krishna conscious. And since the ultimate goal of yoga practice is to see the Lord within, a Krishna conscious person is already the best of all yogis. The principles of the yoga system mentioned herein are different from those of popular so-called yoga societies. Let's offer our pranams to our acharyas, because it is only by their mercy we can repeat their words or share some ideas which we have heard from our Guruvar and our Parampara, which is coming in the disciplic succession all the way from Lord Krishna through Brahma to Narad Muni to the Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, and all the way to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So we are eternally grateful to our spiritual masters for opening our eyes, which were completely in darkness. And through this transcendental knowledge, which Srila Prabhupada is giving us through his books and our other spiritual masters, we have some hope to be able to read them, study them, reflect on them, live them, share with them with others, and that way perfect our life. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubheva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I'll read the translation once again. One should hold one's body, neck and head erect in straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon within the heart and make upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. So these two verses and the previous two verses, which is 11th and 12th, are somewhat connected actually. So I thought it'll be a good idea to quickly recap these verses because that'll help us gain some clarity on what exactly Prabhupada is trying to and Krishna is trying to tell us in this particular verse. So let's quickly do a recap from the previous two verses, which I believe were covered by Manu Prabhu yesterday. So let's see what was covered in those two verses. So in text 11 and 12, the theme was that one must sit down on a proper seat. The seat was spoken, right? And fix the mind on one point. Study the translations for the basic practices of Ashtanga Yoga. And what was described, that the manner of sitting was described in 11 and 12, that how we should sit down. And I was quite reflecting on it because when we practice Krishna consciousness, and especially we do the most important activity of our Krishna consciousness moment is chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We can actually adopt some of these practices, especially sitting straight in one place as much as possible and trying to chant our rounds in one setting. If not in one setting, then at least 4 rounds in one setting. Then you can get up, stretch, and then again sit down. So like this, our attempt should really be to chant as much as possible in one posture with our head and body erect. For that matter, you will even remember Srila Prabhupada's famous tape where he's chanting and in between he said, sit properly. So whatever we can in this age, practically accept to practice Krishna consciousness, because it's very difficult to have, that kind of body, that kind of environment to be able to properly perform Ashtanga Yoga. But let's take what we can and use it in our Krishna consciousness. So text 13 and 14 now describes how to meditate. So we see in these particular two texts, in 11 and 12, it was mentioned that it refutes so-called yoga societies in the big cities, and Prabhupada spoke about it. And he said big cities do not offer such circumstances as expected here for the yoga practice, as I said earlier. And because one who is not self-controlled and disturbed in mind cannot practice meditation. So because we do not have that environment, our minds are not subdued, as Krishna is telling in this verse, and that's why we are not able to engage or control them properly. Therefore, the best means of spiritual realization in Kali Yuga is Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nashte, Evanashte, Evanashte, Gati Ranyatha. There is no other way, there is no other way, and there is no other way. The only way is through the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So here we see, in now going into the text 13 and 14, firstly, the point is being mentioned is around celibacy, that Prabhupada very strongly speaks and quotes the Yagna Valkya, that the vow of a brahmachari is meant to help one completely abstain from sex indulgence in work, words and mind, and at all times, under all circumstances, and in all places. You see, those children who have had the privilege or in the youth to practice the brahmachari, you will see that they have risen to such a platform, even if they are not necessarily staying in the temple, but someone who's been a monk and stayed at the temple has practiced even for a year or for a little bit longer, a few years, the brahmachari life, their intelligence is bound to be empowered by the Lord without a shadow of doubt. Because the longer you're able to engage your senses in the higher taste and longer you're able to control your mind, the likelihood of your intelligence is being much more sharper because of that engagement and because of that sense of control you have applied at a certain point of your life. And that is the reason why Prabhupada and our scriptures and even Chanakya Pandit emphasize on the aspect that when you're in the youth and if you're able to control the senses, when you come to a certain age, which is 25 and plus, even if you enter the Grahastha life, and because you've had that spiritual orientation, you will still can be practicing the brahmachari life as Prabhupada speaks in the purport. And what does he say? He says that the role of celibacy in Bhakti Yoga, by quoting 14 purport, now I'm quoting, that the strict celibacy is must for Jnana and Dhyana schools, but only in the Bhakti school, the conception of the household brahmachari is allowed because the cult of Bhakti Yoga is so powerful that one automatically loses sexual attraction being engaged in the superior service of the Lord and experiences higher taste. Vishayan vini vartante. So when we experience that higher taste, we are able to give up the inferior taste. And we have seen many such examples in our life, even to the point of when we look at the souls who have actually come from as associates of the Lord just to play the pastime. So one such example comes to my mind because these days I've been hearing beautiful katha of Shriman Lal Govind Prabhu, who spoke very nicely on the glorification of our 6 Goswamis. And Prabhuji goes in very nicely explaining the beginning of Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami's life, where these two personalities were called Sanatan Goswami, who was the elder brother, was called Sakar Malik, and Rupa Goswami was called Dabir Khas. So they were, although born, in a Hindu family, but because they took the employment under the regime of a king who was Muslim, they were given the 2 Muslim names. And they were earning salaries which we can't even begin to imagine. Even if I'm working for a biggest top company, maybe I'll be earning only so much. But they were earning, millions of pounds if you were to compare in those ages, actually. But even then, they knew how to engage that. But even if you consider it from a material standpoint of view, that they were engaged in all of this, but when they met with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the first time, like first they saw both of them in the Keturi Dham, in Ramkeli, when Mahaprabhu had arrived there, along with the entire Sankitan party, and the Sankitan was going on. And this was a very special place because this is where there was an uproarious Kirtan was going on, and this is where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped in between and started shouting, Narottam, Narottam, looking at the Khetri gram, and everybody was bewildered. And everybody wanted to know who this personality is. And then Mahaprabhu revealed that Narottam is a personality who is about to be born. And he will be a very empowered Acharya in our line. So this is the place where first Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami saw them. And then later on, when they had the desire to surrender their life, Rupa Goswami actually met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Varanasi. And when Rupa Goswami met him, he had completely given up everything when he arrived at the lotus feet of Rupa Goswami, who was at that time having prasadam at someone's place, and he was called inside. And Rupa Goswami, the first question Rupa Goswami asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that I don't even know who I am. I'm here to take instructions from you, my Lord. So if you see the dainya or the humility that Rupa Goswami exemplified, why did he do that? Because he got the blessings of Mahaprabhu, and because of that blessings and the practice he started, he left all that inferior taste, and he was able to give up even such a highly paid employment like what he was in. And he immediately said to Mahaprabhu that please, Mahaprabhu wanted to embrace Rupa Goswami. He said, don't come close to me. I'm extremely fallen, having taken shelter of a Muslim kingdom, having a lifestyle of such a person. I do not deserve your embrace, Mahaprabhu. And same was the case by Sanatan Goswami, who actually met Mahaprabhu in the first instance. Where did Sanatan Goswami meet? I think it was also in Banaras, if I'm not mistaken, because it is in the first Rupa Goswami was instructed for 10 days at the Dashwamedha Ghat, and then Sanatan Goswami was then instructed for 2 months actually in the science of Krishna consciousness. So these two personalities really gives us a glimpse of how one can transcend this so-called inferior taste, be it the sex life, be it the urge to eat food outside, be it the urge to satisfy other senses. And food is a very important element of our life actually, because it all starts vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, vacho vegam. It starts from the tongue. And the tongue has these two functions. One is to vibrate and second is to eat. If we can engage our tongue in eating Krishna Prasadam only, then there is some hope that one day we'll be able to control all the other senses. And on that note, I just want to make sure the time-wise we are okay. We have 10 minutes. I want to show a quick video to all of you. Share with the video which we can watch here of Srila Prabhupada. This was an offering made to Srila Prabhupada on his Vyas Puja by the devotees of Delhi Rohini Temple. I'm just going to share that. I found this very uplifting. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I've got it here. Talks about how higher taste, and especially Krishna Prasadam, it focuses, this point very nicely. Oh no, I need to share the, one second. Okay, you should be able to hear it now. So please pay your full attention for 5 minutes.
You engage your eyes to see the beauty of the deity, Krishna. You engage your tongue for tasting Krishna Prasada. You engage your legs to come to this temple. You engage your hands to work for Krishna. You engage your nose to smell the flowers offered to Krishna.
I returned Coke bottles for the 5-cent deposits to buy food with. And I would walk the 7 miles across town every Sunday night to get one good meal a week at the Hare Krishna temple. I loved it.
Vegetarianism is one of the most important aspects of a Krishna-conscious lifestyle. Devotees try to cause the least amount of suffering possible to other living beings. This is called ahimsa in Sanskrit. It's the principle of non-violence. Prabhupada and his followers have contributed tremendously to the fact that vegetarianism is much more popular now and has even become somewhat mainstream.
Srila Prabhupada gave many activities by which devotees could enjoy Krishna consciousness. Deity worship, Harinam, book distribution. But prasadam is special because it's so easy for everyone to accept. All glories to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who gave us the higher taste.
If we get opportunity, we can give sumptuous prasad. We are doing that in all other centers throughout the whole world. Simply by eating one can be devoted. It doesn't require. If you simply eat Krishna prasad, it is so nice method. Chanting and hearing, this is recommended here. So the beginning is, you have to make a determination. Number one sense, the tongue, you try to control by eating Krishna prasadam and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Thank you.
That you can overcome lower taste by higher taste.
Nourishing is so fulfilling, and the most important thing about prasadam is that it's blessed. It's vegetarian food stuff offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
You should take prasadam. Krishna bada dayamay, paribare jivha jaya sab prasad anna dilo bhai. Sei prasad anna pao, Radha Krishna guna gao. Premi rako chaitanya. Krishna bada, our tongue is the greatest enemy. First of all, engage your tongue. Sevan mukhi hi jivhado, sameva spuratva. Two business only. To taste or eat and chant. Chant Hare Krishna with tongue and take Krishna prasadam. You'll conquer Krishna. Because prasad is transcendent. It is not a material thing. One must have faith that it is not material. It cannot be infected by any material things. In this way, prasad should be done. It is called prasada seva. Prasad is as good as Krishna. Therefore, prasad should be respected as good as Krishna. So, those who are attached to Krishna consciousness movement and those who are attached in the service, these who take prasadam, first class prasadam, everyone likes the taste of the prasadam, then we remember Krishna, and that will keep us fit and immune from our infection of material miserable condition.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So, hold your thoughts or any reflections from what Prabhupada was saying there and what you saw in the video. We'll come back to that. So let's go back to our slides. So I was mentioning the role of prasadam is a key in what we do actually, without which there is not much hope. And if we can control the tongue, then there is every hope for of all the other senses being controlled. So it's explained in that verse of 2.59 that the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment through the taste for sense object remains. So, but seizing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he's fixed in consciousness. And we saw that example. We heard
सुखदेव
about.
गोस्वामी ये बोल रहे हैं, लेकिन हुआ क्या कि उनके पिता ने बहुत उनको सताया.
Sorry. I had a background lecture going on because I did not come out of that YouTube, and it just plays the next session on which you've been watching. So what I was saying is that through the example of Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, all our Goswamis, even if you look at the glorious life of Narottam Das Thakur, that he came from a very aristocratic family, very well-to-do. A king was his father, Krishnanand, and he left home. He left all those conveniences to come to live in Vrindavan, to serve, to not just serve, to menially serve his glorious spiritual master Lokanath Goswami, clean his place of stool where he was passing in order to please him so he can then get initiation, and live such a life of real mendicant, a real Goswami in Vrindavan. That's called higher taste. They were experiencing something which unfortunately we are not, but we are getting a glimpse of it. And that glimpse we get to the degree of our sincerity and our strictness in our sadhana. We will get that glimpse. To the degree we are trying to please our previous acharyas by experiencing, by accepting Krishna consciousness, and by sharing with others, the more you do that, the more you're going to experience that some glimpse, and one day the taste will come by Krishna's mercy. So here we see that the only way one can actually control the senses permanently is if one can experience a higher taste, and to give up a lower pleasure, one has to experience a higher pleasure. Otherwise, no matter how much austerity or sense denial one practices like a yogi, neti, it's very difficult. Whereas on the other hand, if the desires for sense gratification will still remain, if in the heart, if we just externally keep saying I don't want it, I don't want it, at the same time we will try to satisfy, thus failing from spiritual, we'll fall down from the spiritual platform. But one who has tasted the beauty of the Supreme Lord Krishna in the course of his advancement in the practice of Krishna consciousness, that person has received a higher taste, a spiritual taste. Because of experiencing that taste, he's now no longer attracted to the lower taste. Once all the Goswamis decided they're going to dedicate their life, they never looked back. If you remember in the beautiful pastime of Sanatan Goswami, the only thing he was attached to was this beautiful blanket which was given to him. And Rupa Goswami just looked at him. He didn't even say a word. And that very moment, Sanatan Goswami went by the small river and he exchanged that blanket in the exchange of with a washerman. He took his torn blanket and gave him the new blanket. And when Sanatan Goswami saw that, he said, "That's it. The last tinge of your attachment you've given away, Sanatan Goswami. Your life is now successful." So that's what happens to us. So finally, towards the end, it's mentioned that Vigata Bhir means the devoid of fear. So what we spoke about earlier was a higher taste. Now we're talking about the fear. It is very important quality to practice in Ashtanga Yoga. And I really like the line Prabhupada uses in the purport that Krishna consciousness is the only basis of fearlessness. The more we put ourselves in front of the transcendental vibration, the more we hear the Hari Katha, the appreciation of our acharyas, we sing their bhajans, we appreciate them more and more. And the more you do that, the more you're going to be fearless. Why do you think Prahlad Maharaj was fearless? The reason he was fearless was because he was all the time Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. He was always busy with Shravanam. So when we hear the transcendental glories, when we read Srila Prabhupada books, and when we chant good solid rounds of our Hare Krishna Mahamantra, have a very good morning program, and somehow or other we take small little steps during the course of the day, then our life will become blissful, our life will become totally Krishna conscious. And then we share Krishna consciousness with others. That's why this hearing and chanting and book distribution, they go together. So for that reason, we are starting a beautiful program from next Sunday, not this Sunday, Sunday the 16th of January. We will be inaugurating a beautiful program. We reflected on our marathon, and we saw so many devotees wants to come out, especially the families, children, everybody. So we are doing a program which is going to be a combination of hearing and chanting and book distribution. Every Sunday, we will be meeting at the temple at 2 o'clock. In Haveli, a meeting room has been booked at least for the next 4 or 5 Sundays, where we will chant one good japa round together, everyone together in a japa circle. We will hear the glories of the holy name, and then we will chant one round. And most likely we're going to start reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, because that is such an important fundamental book for our movement. And all the other books, even if you see all the beautiful verses of the Bhagavatam, CC is like a garland of these verses. My Guru Maharaj says it's like an ambrosia. The nectar and these verses are made in ambrosia. And because we want to get very close to Narottam Das Thakur, one of our prime acharya in starting the book distribution, Srinivas Acharya, Shamananda Pandit. We want to really please these three personalities. We want to please Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. We want to please the Goswamis. This Katha of Lal Govind Prabhu is so magical. I was so, like, my wife inspired me. She said, hear him. It's, hear this part. I've been hearing Lal Govind Prabhu anyway, but when I heard the series and I'm still hearing them, I had so much of appreciation, and I felt, that's it. This is a message. We need to read Chaitanya Charitamrita, because we are in the Sankitan movement. It's only 500 years ago Mahaprabhu appeared, and then we are able to connect it, and we're going to go out. And we will pick up in the course of our reading and chanting other books as well. But at least to start with, I thought let's begin with Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we will do that for an hour altogether, 1 hour program. And then we will go out and do book distribution for an hour actually. So that'll be our every Sunday program, door to door. So please join us for this wonderful program. Obviously, if it's COVID, we can come in the mask. We will keep the distance. We'll read together after the lunch prasadam at the temple, and we'll go out and distribute some books actually. So yeah, coming back to the point, the more we do it, the more we will be able to overcome the fear. So that brings me to conclude today's chat session. Couple of important announcement I want to make. Tomorrow is our National Sankirtan Festival. What National Sankirtan Festival is, we celebrate the life of all the devotees who took this sacrifice of going out in this cold weather, or generally going out as itself is difficult, and distributed Srila Prabhupada books across UK. So it's all the temples coming together. We're doing it online, but we will also be doing a Bhaktivedanta Manor specific festival I'm looking at a date, most likely the last Sunday of the month or 6th of February. Hopefully by then cases would come down a little bit, because we like to do it in person and acknowledge and appreciate the lives of all the devotees who contributed in pleasing Srila Prabhupada. So that, but anyway, the National Sankitan Festival is tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. It will start with His Holiness Shivram Maharaj giving a class, and then it will finish at 8:45, the class. Then there will be a break for all of you to have your breakfast, cook your bhoga, do your house chores, and then 10 o'clock the festival will begin and finish at 12:30. It's a very nice festival. You get so much of inspiration from devotees from all over UK. In some cases, we have some senior Prabhupada disciple dialing in from other parts of Europe as well. And so yeah, that's something to look forward to tomorrow. And I think the 16th Sunday I've already mentioned. If any one of you are interested, it's a great time. Sunday, everybody can come to the temple, and join us of this 2 hours of transcendental wonderful pastimes, which we're going to immerse ourselves in Mahaprabhu's, and hopefully go out as well during those time actually. So any comments or questions from today's session? Palika Mataji, your hand is up. Is that you're too excited about something, or you're always excited because you're always relishing this pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? You wanted to say something? You're on mute if you're trying to say something, Palika Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Divyanam Prabhu. Wonderful class, very, very inspiring. And when you put Srila Prabhupada's lecture, Srila Prabhupada is always inspiring. I mean, like other day, we also had similar in a message from Srila Prabhupada, how we should chant and talk about Krishna as the time of the death. Then we will remember Krishna. What are the things we need to do to remember Krishna, and so that we don't come back, we go back to the spiritual world. It's it's really, and you really inspired all through the class, the way you were delivering the class. It was really, really inspiring. And I'm feeling sad the way my body is at the moment, that it will be difficult for me to go out door to door to distribute book, because I know I used to go out with, with the children, and it's a little bit sad for me actually.
It's
But I
actually,
can do
you
it
don't
in
have
my
to be
mind.
sad, Palika Mataji. You can, that 1 hour, you can also dedicate from home to trying to call up some new people, or sending them some link of our Idea Seeds website, where we are doing the Saptarishi pack we are planning to do throughout the year. Even if you just make one phone call in that 1 hour, it is successful, because your heart is so much absorbed in it, Palika Mataji, that you just do what you can. My Guru Maharaj says, wherever you are, you just start from there. And when your health was not good, you went into a hospital, you came back, you still distributed so many books, you encouraged so many people to sponsor the books so they can go out into various places. That is very, very inspiring, Palika Mataji. So thank you for your contribution.
Thank you, Dibbanam Prabhu. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Your Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada will be very pleased with your efforts. So
Yes,
tomorrow's class is going to be very special. It's an amazing class.
actually,
So please hear.
during this time, Guru Maharaj wanted to distribute some Bhagavad Gita in Hungary.
Right.
So I did my best, and I had such a wonderful blessing from Guru Maharaj personally.
Oh,
He sent
nice.
me, and I felt really blissful. He
Oh,
sent me a
wonderful.
message which Srila Prabhupada had sent to one of his disciples,
Nice.
and he sent me actually that it showed that how much he appreciated that me sponsoring him the book, the Bhagavad Gita, and
Oh,
I felt
wonderful.
so blessed. I felt really, really blessed.
That's
Thank
nice,
you very
Mataji.
much for
Thank you.
listening.
Thank you, Palika Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Any other comments or questions if anyone has? One thing I want to mention, that do not get worried when strong statements are made in the scriptures. They are meant to, in Hindi we say jigjor, like they were meant to shake us up, that complete abstinence from the sex life, married life, sex only for the sake of procreation. These things are very heavy sometimes, because we are so much conditioned. But one thing is for sure, do not focus on the fact that, oh my God, but focus on developing taste for Krishna Prasad. Focus on as much as possible to eat what you offer to the Lord. Try to avoid eating anything which is not offered to the Lord. That means try to cook for the Lord. Try to hear about the Lord. Then what you cook, it will enliven your senses, it will enliven your intelligence. And the more you do it, that thing about abstaining from various sensual activities, it'll automatically and slowly and gradually it'll raise us to that platform. Take my word on this, because our movement has gone from so many places, and I've had many conversations with my spiritual masters, senior leaders. The main aspect is to focus on the positive aspects of Krishna consciousness, which is to chant a good quality rounds, eat Krishna prasadam, read Srila Prabhupada books. Don't let your mind get absorbed in all sorts of nonsense which is happening in the world. There is something called as circle of influence. You cannot do much about what BBC is trying to tell us, as many times as you may like to have a look at it, but can you influence anything? The only thing you can influence is by sending some positive energy in the world, by your determination to practice Krishna consciousness, and that will help BBC to come up with some nice positive news there. But it may not be seen as your sadhana, but trust me, it all goes out in the ether when we vibrate strong transcendental vibration. So I just wanted to make that point, that don't worry, just keep going strongly about, Prabhupada has given us this beautiful Maha Mantra from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's given us Krishna Prasadam. He's given us his books. He's given us the association of the devotees. Let's try to really hang in there and do our best in Krishna consciousness, and everything will come to pass slowly and gradually, and we'll make it to the other side of the material world.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Hema Mataji.
So I wanted to say about the six Goswamis. It's just they are such an inspiration. And if once a day we think of one quality of one Goswami and meditate upon that quality, it just transforms your life. And I was lucky to have been inspired by Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu to chant the Ashtakam, the Sat Goswami Ashtakam every day. And just reading the translation of that Ashtakam is just... it's amazing. It really does impact on your chanting, on your meditation, and every day. And yes, I'm going to this katha is just amazing. Thank you, Prabhuji, for sharing
Amazing, very nice. There is one more Ashtakam you can read, Mataji. I've been reading it. It's called, it doesn't, I mean, when you have time, doesn't have to be daily. It's called Narottam Ashtakam. It's written by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And it's beautiful. And there is a beautiful book by Sitala Mataji, Prabhupada disciple, Harisari Prabhu's wife. The book is called The Glorious Life of Narottam Das Thakur. That book brought tears into my eyes. I'm a very strong-hearted person. When I was reading it with my son, it's been transformational for me. I've just picked it up with my family. We are doing a family reading of that book, and so much relishing it. It's not very readily available. I mean, we had some families who picked up, who I was speaking to. They have started the reading, so you can try it out. It may be available in the krishnashopping.com or Sacred Boutique. If not, it is available on Amazon as an ebook, and also to order it as well. It's called The Glorious Life of Narottam Das Thakur. The way the book has been written, Mataji has taken the best of Narottam Vilas, which is a book written by Narahari Sarkar about the glorious life of Narottam Das Thakur. But the kind of detail and the way she's written it, it brings about so much appreciation towards the Goswamis and the festival he conducted on the Gaur Purnima in Kheturi Dham, and how he went back and converted villages after villages, how he started the movement of book distribution with Shamananda Pandit and who was the third personality? Narottam Das Thakur, Shamananda Pandit, and who is the third one? Srinivas Acharya. I mean, it's out of the world actually. So yeah, I highly recommend that book. It's a beautiful bedtime book, and just read 2 pages a day, and the nectar will keep coming out of it actually.
Wonderful. I will do that. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. And let me know how, once you do get hold of the book. I mean, you'll not be able to keep your feet on the floor, Mataji. I can tell you for sure when you read that book.
And looking forward to your CC classes on Sundays, Prabhuji.
Well, it won't be me giving the classes. The thing is, it'll be all of us. Whoever comes there will get a chance to read Chaitanya Charitamrita. I recently started this at home with few devotees who've been coming, and we've been, like chanting together and reading Prabhupada books. and it's phenomenal what it does. And I've been speaking to my spiritual master about it, and he loves the idea, about hearing and chanting. And we go around, read one verse, one purport, everybody shares the reflection at the end. It's nectar from beginning to the end, Mataji, actually. And that's the way to go about associating with the devotees. That is the way you want to have the that's the kind of association you want to be in, where Prabhupada books are read, and chanted and things like that. So yeah, no, looking forward to these sessions, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
One last comment or
Hare
reflection.
Krishna. Just one more thing. Chaitanya Charitamrita. I thought I didn't. I heard in the temple every Sunday. I used to go and listen and come back and go through it. But I'm just started last year. We started with in the Mayapur Institute with Prabhu, and it's just
Amazing, huh?
too good. He's
Wow.
giving it every Friday. He gives class for 1.5 hours. It's
Amazing.
just really, really wonderful. Everybody should enroll for that. It's just really good.
Fantastic. Great.
Chaitanya is just wonderful, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thanks a lot. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Great, everybody. It was really nice to be in your association once again. I'm looking forward to a wonderful 2022 year full of transcendental vibration coming from Srila Prabhupada's lotus pen, which he penned down, which was nothing but, as he says, dictated by Krishna directly. These were his emotional ecstasies. And the more we read Prabhupada books, the more our life become infused, I think that's the right word, infused with spiritual enthusiasm to practice bhakti with a bit more enthusiasm and try to spread that message of bhakti wide and far with everyone. So on that note, wishing everybody a great new year ahead. Tomorrow evening we'll have Nikhil Prabhu, another wonderful devotee who's been coming. I've invited him few sessions, really nice. So tomorrow we'll have his association. And I'll see you all shortly. Till then, take care of yourself and wishing you all a very happy Krishna conscious year. Vancha kalpataru bhishya kripa sindhu be vacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Everyone have a nice evening. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.